When Terry Thompson walked out of prison in 2011, it wasn't freedom waiting for him. It was chaos quietly brewing in his mind. 10 months behind bars had stripped him of nearly everything: his money, his reputation, and even his wife, Marion, who'd finally had enough after 40 years of marriage. His beloved animals, once his pride, were now his burden. He was drowning in debt, his farm falling apart, and his relationship beyond repair. Neighbors said he came back a changed man, bitter, paranoid, and restless. And within weeks he'd make sure no one in Zanesville, Ohio, would ever forget his name. On October 18th, 2011, the quiet little town of Zanesville woke up to what felt like a scene from a horror movie. Dozens of exotic animals, lions, tigers, bears, and wolves, were roaming free. It all began late that afternoon when Terry's neighbor, Sam Kopchak, took his horse, Red, out to pasture. Everything seemed normal until he noticed a dark shape moving between the horses. At first he thought it was a big dog, until the creature lifted its head. It was a massive black bear. Before Sam could even process that, another shape caught his eye. This time, a lion, just standing there, watching him. Sam froze. He knew enough not to run, so he slowly backed away, walking his horse back to the barn as calmly as he could. Once safe, he locked the doors, called his elderly mother, and told her what he'd seen. She immediately called Terry's house. No answer. Then she called 911. Deputy Jonathan Merry was the first to respond. As he pulled up to the Kopchak's house, a large grey wolf darted across the road behind him. Merry grabbed his rifle and followed it until it turned toward a nearby home. Headquarters told him to put it down. One shot, and it was over. But this was just the beginning. Moments later, reports came flooding in. Lions, tigers, bears, all spotted near the Thompson property. By the time Sergeant Steve Blake and John Moore, Terry's animal caretaker, arrived at the farm, the scene was pure chaos. Cages were cut open, some left swinging in the wind. A few animals were still trapped inside, but most were gone. As they moved toward the barn, flashlights shaking, they found something that stopped them cold. A white tiger crouched over what looked like a human body. It was Terry. At first, officers thought Terry had been attacked and killed by his own animals. But as they secured the area, they realized this wasn't an accident. The cages hadn't been broken. They'd been deliberately cut open. It didn't take long for the horrifying truth to settle in. Terry had released every single one of them himself. As darkness began to fall, officers from across the county, and even a team from the Columbus Zoo, raced to the property. The zoo team came prepared with tranquilizers, but local deputies knew they were running out of daylight. Wild predators were on the loose in residential areas, and tranquilizers would take too long to work. Sheriff Matt Lutz made the hardest call of his career. The animals had to be put down. Through the night, deputies went from one sighting to the next. Lions on roads, tigers near homes, bears in driveways. By sunrise, the ground around Terry's farm was littered with bodies. 49 animals had been killed. 18 Bengal tigers, 17 lions, 6 black bears, 2 grizzlies, 3 mountain lions, 2 wolves, and a baboon. Only 6 survived: 3 leopards, a grizzly, and 2 monkeys. One animal, a macaque, was never found. Officials believed it had been eaten by another predator. The scene left Zanesville stunned. Terry's body was found near his barn, with raw chicken scattered around him, almost like bait. The autopsy later confirmed he'd died by... But he was also suffering from severe heart disease. Whether he knew about it or not, no one could say. What people did agree on was that Terry had snapped. When Marion returned to the property, she was devastated. She agreed to send the surviving animals to a zoo, but asked that they eventually be buried on their land when they died. The tragedy sparked outrage worldwide, not only because of the animals' deaths, but because of how easily one man had been allowed to collect them in the first place. Before the Zanesville incident, Ohio's exotic animal laws were shockingly loose. Anyone could own a lion or a tiger without even notifying authorities. The USDA only needed to know if the animals were moved across state lines or displayed publicly. That all changed after Terry's rampage. Lawmakers scrambled to close the loopholes, and by 2014, Ohio officially banned private ownership of dozens of exotic species. Only one person died that day: Terry Thompson himself. But his final act changed the state forever. Years before all this, Terry's story had looked very different. He'd been a hometown boy with big dreams. Born just outside Zanesville, he'd earned his pilot's license young and ran a motorcycle and gun business. He was charming but impulsive, the kind of guy who always needed a new project, a new obsession. When he bought Marion a tiger cub for her birthday, it was supposed to be a surprise. Instead, it became the start of an obsession that took over his life. From cars to guns to wild animals, Terry could never get enough. He filled his property with lions, tigers, bears, wolves, monkeys, more than 50 in total. He even worked briefly with Animal Planet's Wild Kingdom and provided a lion cub for a photo shoot with Heidi Klum. But behind the scenes, things were falling apart. His gun dealings caught the attention of the ATF, who raided his home and confiscated 133 firearms. After that, his marriage crumbled and his world started to unravel. By the time he walked out of prison, Terry was a man with nothing left to lose, and when he opened those cages, it was like he was setting himself, and everyone else, free in the worst way imaginable.